Righty, here we go.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Cindy, I am so delighted that you are the first guest for our reboot of Live Cafe. We used to do this on and off, but now I'm trying to do it with some consistency because my goodness, we have a lot more people to participate
You
with
sure
us.
do. You have been rocking
Yeah,
it.
especially you who have seen the group grow since
I know.
2021, which is when we,
Somehow I was in at the beginning.
I know you were there at the beginning. You were there.
I'm one of the OG.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you were a participant. Oh my gosh, in so many ways, Cindy, you have been a champion for us of digital nomads beyond 50 from the time I first met you on Zoom when we were talking about the summit, from your participation in the summit in June of 2021. 2 spots for
Yeah.
that matter, you did, because you talked about van living, and then you talked about general, all the various options that somebody can have. And then we also finally met. Oh, that's right. I
Finally met.
interview for our live chat when you were getting ready. You and Kimberly Ann, you were both getting ready to move to Portugal at that time.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we did an interview then. I think that was in 2023, I believe.
Yeah,
And
that would have been around. I think we had both just gotten there, and that would have been in October.
absolutely. Well, no,
Yeah.
then it must have been in 2022. It must have been in 2022 because October, because you in September, you participated in as a guest expert for our life
For your Lisbon. Yeah.
retreat in Lisbon,
Yeah.
and
Your
that is
co-living. Yeah.
when I met you finally in
Yes.
person.
Yeah. Finally.
And I certainly hope that we have that opportunity a lot more often again, because it was fun.
Yes,
I enjoyed
definitely. That was fun.
it was fun
Yeah.
to have that lunch. And we have some questions that have come in. One of the first, we're going to start, we talked about, okay, and where you are right now is in Italy, right? Correct? Because you did move to Portugal, and then somewhere along the line, is it a great-grandparent or a grandparent
Yes.
that you discovered is Italian? And tell us why that was significant. I know, but everybody else who's on the recording may not know.
Well,
Why
I've
was
been
it
trying
significant?
to get some kind of citizenship or residency for the last couple of years. And I started looking into my Italian citizenship options, which, because my great grandfather had emigrated from the Naples area in southern Italy to Chicago back in the day, I qualified for Italian citizenship. So I started looking into that and trying to figure out how to make that work during COVID. And in the meantime, it was not easy. I was going to have to go through the Chicago consulate, which, to get an appointment there, was 2 years out. If you could even get an appointment, it was like winning, the slot machine in Vegas to be able to even get the appointment. And then once you did have the appointment, it was at least 2 years away. So I thought, okay, I can't wait that long. I'm not getting in here. So I started doing some research and saw that Portugal was cheap, fast, and easy to get in as a resident. So I switched gears and ended up applying for a retirement visa, not a digital nomad visa, because they didn't have that then in Portugal. So I applied for something called the non-lucrative visa. And I applied in June and I moved in October. So it was super fast, which was what I was looking for. So that's when I met you. That's when I met Kimberly, and I moved to Porto, and I loved it. I was totally fine doing that. And then somebody said to me, Cindy, you can still do the Italian citizenship. I said, no, I tried doing that, through the Chicago consulate. It's a joke. Like, you can't even get an appointment. And she said, no, you can just move to Italy and apply from there. And I went, wait, what? What? I can move there? But I said, yeah, but what about Schengen? Like, you can only stay 90 days, as I'm sure you guys all know. And she said, no, no, no. Once you get there and you submit your application and get your paperwork started, if it goes over 90 days, they give you a special stamp in your passport. And I can't remember how you say it in Italian. And trust me, you wouldn't want me to say it because it wouldn't sound anything like it's supposed to say. So it's just trust me, it's called like a permission to stay. So they would put that in my passport, which means that I'm not violating Schengen and I can stay for as many days as it takes to get the citizenship granted to me. And what I didn't understand at the time was Italy already considers me a citizen because of my ancestry. So I'm already a citizen. I just need to be recognized. And so I just have to submit the paperwork to say, look, here's my great-grandfather. He moved from Italy. Here's his son, my grandfather. Here's my mother. Here's me. Look, we're all related. And they would go, oh, welcome home. So
Awesome.
I've kind of gone that route. And I just got here on Thursday. So this is my apartment. I ended up hiring a service provider because it's just kind of tricky and bureaucratic. And I think after doing everything do-it-yourself in Portugal, I was just exhausted. It was like, you know what, I'm just going to hire some professional people to expedite this and make it go smoothly. And so I hired a company and they set me into this apartment. And
The company
here I
that's
am.
helping you, wait a minute. The company that is helping you is facilitating your application and all that also found you an apartment. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
because the apartment has to be registered in a certain way in order to qualify.
Okay.
And yeah, there's all these little technicalities because you can't just show up in an Airbnb. You can't just show
Wow.
up like on something on booking.com and kind of sit it out and wait. It has to be a registered lease. And there is not very many landlords who want to lease to you for a short term, because the beautiful thing about this process is it should only take 3 to 4 months, as
Oh,
opposed to Portugal, which again, I love Portugal and I had no problem with Portugal, but that process to become a resident took 5 years. And then after the 5 years, you could apply for citizenship, and that might take another 2 years. And so
7 years
I just
possible.
started doing the math and I was like, oh, I don't know if I have that much time to wait around for something like that. So when the Italian thing came up and it looked like it would only be 3 to 5 months, I
Awesome.
said, oh, sign me up. And, you know, being Italian, it's different than moving to Portugal. I don't know, there's more of a heart connection in Italy for me. And so it's really, I mean, if I, you know, when I get that passport, it's going to be a big deal. And I'm going to be extremely excited to let my great grandfather and my grandfather and my mother know that, you know, thank you for this lineage. And here I am. And I've kind of brought it back full circle, you know,
I'm sure they're
so
going to
it's kind of
be,
cool.
their spirit will be celebrating. Their
Yeah,
spirit
I think it's kind of cool.
absolutely will be
Yeah.
celebrating. And I think it's awesome that that there's these service, because who would have thought that you couldn't just stay someplace? And just out of curiosity, so do they have other people who they are working with? So is everybody kind of um or several people in the same abode also part of this transition, the
Um,
citizenship
So the
transition?
tricky thing, and not to go into like the whole logistics of it all, but the tricky thing about not doing it myself was you have to find the right town that will take your paperwork and process it gladly. Like there's a lot, I mean, it's just more work for the people in the city hall. So if you went to, you know, some little town over here and they were like, oh no, not another one, we don't want to do this. They couldn't wait and drag it out and make you wait a year.
Mhm.
And then you might go to another town and be like, oh, I want to live here, it's cute. And then those people in that city hall might be like, oh, you know, we don't have time for this. Like, we're already busy enough. So you can go anywhere in the country. It doesn't have to be where your ancestors are from, but, oh, hi, Jill, I see your cat there. But you can't just show up in any town and hope that they will do it. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to work with a provider. He knows maybe 10 different villages that will do this process. And so based on my paperwork and the difficulty of proving my citizenship relationship, he put me in this village that I'm in, knowing that he can make it happen. And I would never have heard of this town. I would never know anything about it. There's, of course, all these Facebook pages of, I don't know if most of the people on the call are American, but there's these dual US Italian citizenship groups. And I'm happy to share the contact with you because they are amazing.
I was just going to
They're
ask
amazing.
that. I was just going to ask, because then we can put that in the link for those.
Yeah, they're
might
awesome. Like they
benefit from
never
that.
answer in a shitty way. They're always super kind. Everybody's very helpful. There's no snarkiness. I mean, it's a really great group, and they have all these guides that they've typed up, so you can just pretty much follow it A through Z, whether you're applying in the US or whether you're applying overseas. So it's been a real help.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's been great.
I'm glad we started with that because we did have quite a few questions regarding that particular process, and you gave us some excellent information to start off with.
Yeah,
but
it's
getting back to,
it's not easy, and it's a lot of paperwork, and you can do a lot of it yourself, and you would have to, because you have to get, you know, your grandma's birth certificate, your great grandfather's death certificate. So you need to research all of that anyway. So if you can do the bulk of that by yourself, you won't pay someone to do that. And then you just kind of show up with all your papers and you say, help me.
excellent.
And, you know, and this company,
okay.
they found me an apartment. They will, you know, do the translations, accompany me to the city hall, accompany me to the court if I need to go to the courts. So that's all included too. So it's nice. It's a little bit smoother than my Portugal experience.
That sounds full service. Well, the next question that we have is, and that is, and that's actually one of those logical questions, because postcards from a FlashPacker. What is a FlashPacker? Once again, I know the answer to this.
You do,
but
yes.
Also, I think you should also explain for the group what again, I know it has to do with the DNA, and I think it's such a lovely story, you know, cool story. Your blog starts with DRD4-7R. And then it goes
that could have been a marketing mistake on my part.
and then it goes postcards from a FlashPacker. So first, what is a FlashPacker? Or if you want to answer the DRD4-7R question, start with there. Okay.
So the DR, I don't even know what it is, to be honest, because I never even refer to it anymore. And I thought it was a nifty idea when I started this in 2017. And now I'm a little sorry that I went with that, but it is kind of cool. So what that string of letters and numbers refers to a gene, a piece of DNA that I would guess every single one of you on this call has, and it's the Nomad gene. And scientists have discovered that not everyone has it. Like, I think it's maybe 20% of the population has this variation in their genetic makeup that makes us wander. It makes us keep moving and looking for something and exploring and discovering and being adventurous and curious. And not everyone has it. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I've sometimes wished I didn't have it, because it would be nice to be content and have a home base and have a garden, maybe, I don't know, play golf, I don't know. But I don't have that. And so I'm always kind of, I wouldn't even say I'm looking for something. I'm always just kind of on the move. I'm always just doing something adventurous, finding something new, being excited about some new bookstore or some new archaeological place, or a cathedral to look at. So that code is embedded in us in some way that gives us this itchy feet that keeps us moving on and is responsible for what we're doing. And then the FlashPacker part of it is, a FlashPacker is someone who is a backpacker, but with a little bit more money. So for example, a FlashPacker might take the $10 private bus instead of the $4 local bus because we've got a little bit more money in our wallet. Or, maybe we'll take the Ryanair flight for $29 instead of taking the $7 32-hour bus. Because first of all, we're a little bit older, we're a little bit tired, and we've got a little bit more cash in our pocket. That being said, I'm not taking a limousine anywhere. So I'm still doing it super cheap and on a budget, but maybe a little bit next level from like an 18-year-old kid from, doing a gap year kind of thing. So that's what a FlashPacker is, someone who's maybe doing it in a little bit more comfortable style.
I see. And the hottest news about you is on so many levels, the hottest news about you is the New York Times article where
that was crazy.
The Finding Love Abroad. And I always say you really got me into a little bit of trouble there.
I did.
trying to follow your example, but I just think it's.
I remember that conversation.
Yes. And I just think it's awesome because I remember when we first spoke, you were the first person, you told me you should try this. You've tried online dating, in the US, but it also works when you're traveling. And not only did you meet someone who you was copacetic and everything was wonderful, but you guys have been together for 5 years now, right?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
And you literally have my ideal relationship when it comes to being a digital nomad. And explain that because, not explain that, but share that because from what I understand, he is, I'm not going to use, if you want to use his name, I'll protect his privacy or whatever, but he is French and he is a professional paraglider or hang glider. And he has he has a season for his work and he's doing it there in France. And then you guys get together for 3 months or 4 months at a time. And then you travel together and then you go off and do your own traveling again. And he goes off and he does his own traveling again. Is that correct? Or is just that my fantasy?
It's correct.
Is it just the fantasy that I have created in my head of the perfect digital nomad relationship?
It is pretty nice. Yeah. So as you said, we met, it's coming up on 6 years in March. We met on Tinder and we were both in Nepal at the same time. And I swiped right, he swiped right. The funny thing is, if any of you have done Tinder, usually you go back and forth with a million zillion texts and messages, and then somebody just disappears. Usually, the other person just kind of ghosts you. So that's what I had been used to, is just a bunch of chats back and forth that doesn't go anywhere. Well, this time he said, "Oh, hi, where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm at the bar at the lake having a beer." And he said, "Oh, okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes. And I went, "Wait, what?" No, that's not how this works. And he walked right up because it's a small town in Nepal. And I was like, "Oh, hi." So we started talking and, he said, "Do you want to go to dinner later tonight?" And so we did. And that just kind of kept going. I left to fly to Bali after that. And I was like, "All right, see ya." And then we both kind of were like, maybe we need to see each other again. So after spending, 5 or 6 days together in Nepal, we decided to get together again. And it's perfect because he'll be like, hey, I'm going to be in Madagascar. Do you want to meet me there? Okay, sure. And then I'll say, oh, hey, I'm going to be in Croatia. Do you want to go to Croatia with me? Yeah, sure. And so we just kind of bounce back and forth. He solo travels. He just got back from 3 months in India and Nepal paragliding. And while he was doing that, I was in Ecuador. So we do a lot of things together, but we also do a lot of things
there
apart.
now? Is he there now?
He's right there.
How are you?
What a story.
Oh, it's so good to see him
Yeah.
live and moving as compared to just a picture.
Right. Or like, Cindy, are you making this up? So he just got back from India and he met me in Sicily, and we spent 2 weeks driving around the island and enjoying all the different cities around Sicily. And he's here with me in this new adventure to kind of get me settled and spend a couple weeks with me here. So it's kind of nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then
Wonderful.
he leaves, and that's kind of nice.
Yes. Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. From your mouth to God's ear, I do hope putting it out into the universe, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been great because he's super independent and he does his own thing. I do my own thing. You know, we travel together, we travel apart. So it's kind of nice.
Awesome. It truly is. That truly is ideal. And of course, we do have some questions about your workstay, because that was when I mentioned that you have done some workstays. I don't know whether you did more. The one that I'm familiar of is the castle where you were doing gardening in exchange for.
And let's talk about that because I have an opportunity for any of you guys who are interested. So let me tell you a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
I did a workaway, and it was in an Italian villa in Tuscany, in a 15th century haunted villa. So I will tell you it's haunted in case that bothers you or puts you off. Sadly, I did not meet the ghost Teresa, but I was hoping to. Okay. So I was in a villa in Tuscany, and the man who owns it is a count. He's an actual count. Okay. So he just actually emailed me this week, and he said, hey, do you have anyone who's interested in doing a stint at the villa? And it would be, and I'll give you the information, Siobhan, but I think it's the last week of March till the end of April. So it's not a long stretch. It's like 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. My only concern for all of you guys is the Wi-Fi is not very good. So if you have a MiFi or some kind of a device of your own, the Wi-Fi there isn't very good. Or you could leave during the day and go to a cafe or something too. But in the villa itself, it's just not great. You know, it's okay, but it's not great. And the only thing you need to do, it's a Cinderella kind of situation. So you have a bedroom at the top of the stairs. It's only for one person. So you can't go with a friend or a special significant other. It's just for one person. And it's almost like a little convent room. It's very sparse. And it's just a twin bed and a little cooktop and a fridge and a bathroom and a shower and stuff. So it's, you know, a complete space. But you're on these beautiful grounds. And so what you need to do every day is just pick up the bits of litter that have blown in from the day before. It's mostly like sugar packages from the cafe or cigarette butts because Italy.
There's
and
a
then
on the premises.
There's people have coffee and breakfast there. It's a bed and breakfast. So it's a castle kind of situation, but there's maybe 8 or 10 bedrooms, I forget. And so they have staff that's there from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. And then the Cinderella part of it kicks in at 8 o'clock at night. So you would need to be back at the villa at 8 o'clock at night because the front desk people go home. And very, very rarely, I was there for 2 months, and occasionally they would say to me, hey, someone is driving in tonight and they will be here at 10. Can you come down from your Cinderella suite and give them the keys and show them where their room is? You know, that was fine. There were a couple weddings that were held there, and they always asked me, would you mind helping at the wedding? sure, why not? You know, I had nowhere else to be.
Mm.
And then during the day or in the evening, whenever you want, you have to water all the flowers in all the big terracotta pots all over the property. There's no gardening per se. It's just, you don't do any weeding. You don't do any kind of anything but watering, really. It's super easy. And then you just kind of pick up the bits of trash. And then if you can help out at a wedding, they had the University of Pisa had a robotics conference, and they had the celebration dinner at this villa. And so I helped at that, and it was pretty interesting. And you don't get paid, but you get your accommodation covered. And he's looking for somebody for, like I said, I think it ends up being like 5
Do you
weeks.
also have?
No, there is a restaurant on site, and you can eat
But
at
you
the
have to buy
restaurant
your
for
food
cheap,
there from the
for a
restaurant.
reduced price.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And then you can, I mean, I would just buy salad things and cereal and yogurt and stuff, because there is a little kitchen, you know, that you can use yourself
Okay.
in the little apartment.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. I could take the bus to Pisa or take the bus to Lucca. So it was like one way or the other way. And then I would get on the train in Pisa and go to Florence for lunch. I mean, what the heck? Like,
Sounds lovely.
yeah, it was pretty
Sounds
awesome.
absolutely lovely.
And then you get, you know, you get a couple days off a week. So one time I put my days off together and I talked to Agostino, the Count, and I said, hey, I want to go to Verona to see Andrea Bocelli. And he was like, okay. so I hopped on the train and went to
Who wouldn't
Verona.
give you
And
time
spent
off
the
to go
weekend.
see to see him, to hear him sing?
Right? Exactly. I was like, yeah, that's what I need to do next week. And he was like, okay, no problem. So yeah, it was pretty dreamy.
Oh,
It was pretty
excellent.
cool. So yeah, if anybody's interested in that, let me know, because he is looking for somebody for a couple of weeks there. It's not a huge amount. Usually he asks for 2 months or 3 months at a time, but this must be just a gap between what one person can do and the next person starts. So he's just looking for a little bit.
And I do have a question as well from somebody who's asking, would you ever entertain going back to van traveling again?
You know, the weird thing is, so my van's name was Tilly,
Mhm.
and I did over 200 days in that van, over 2 big summers during COVID, and then like a little bit of time. Actually, with Pew, we went to Rocky Mountain National Park and Yellowstone and some of the national parks kind of in the central US. And then I sold the van when I moved to Portugal. And oddly enough, the people I sold it to were ready to sell it again. And so I bought it back. And so I had it back again. And then I was like, what have I done? Now I'm moving to Italy like in 6 weeks or whatever. So I sold it again. That being said, it was just a matter of timing. It wasn't a matter of, I don't want to do van life again.
Mhm.
I think it would be really cool to do van life in Europe.
Mhm.
Pew and I did it for about 6 weeks a couple years ago. He had a van as well, and he no longer has that either. But we went from Naples all the way up through Switzerland and into Provence and to Marseille, and kind of hung out for a couple of weeks driving through Italy and Switzerland and France. And it was amazing. And I would definitely do that again.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let me see. I'm just checking to make sure. We're soon going to segue into questions of those who are present here. Also, you know, I've done, you know, we do have, thanks again. Thanks again for being our logistics guest expert for the LifeMap last year in 2023. And also, even more importantly, thank you for agreeing to be to take that role again and be our guest expert in Medellin, which is now going to be our home base. And
That's amazing.
I always connect you with Medellin because I remember you know, my soul for so long had been calling me to Colombia, and I was on my way there when I got COVID locked in
Oh,
Ecuador,
yeah, in Ecuador, right.
and choose to stay there. But at the same time, just like some people who are, I have heard from some people who are considering the LifeMap retreat, but they're saying, is it safe? Is it safe for me? And I do remember thinking about that before, even though, as I said, even though my soul kept on being drawn to Colombia, I was still wondering whether
Okay.
it's safe. And it was your experience, not only with the language hostel, which I followed in your footsteps there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You went to Blink.
Okay,
Yep.
and I got one question to ask you, and I don't think I've asked you this before. When you stayed there, did you stay in a dorm or did you stay in one of their private rooms? Uh-oh.
I
Great.
stayed, and I don't think they have it anymore, but across the street from the school, there was an apartment
Oh yeah,
above
they were
that
renovating.
Christian had
They were
rented,
renovating that. They
and
were
it was like
renovating
4
that when I was
bedroom.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was there and there was like 4 of us up there and there were bedrooms and then we shared like a kitchen and a living area. So I
Oh,
wasn't in a dorm, but I was in kind of like, I don't know, like a shared apartment.
oh, okay. So that's kind of
Where were you? What
like
did
the
you
top
stay?
floor. That was like the top floor because they had a kitchen up there. But yeah, I signed up the week before I left on Christmas Day.
Wow, okay.
And so they had said, yes, we won't, we can put you in a dorm for right now, a 6-woman dorm. And then,
Okay.
but we anticipate, a private room with a private bathroom, not one down the hall, okay, to open
Yeah.
up. As it worked out, I ended up spending the entire 4 weeks in the little sleep cubby. I called it my the sleep cubby, because there were 3 of them. It's the width of a full mattress, and then
Okay.
you scoot your way back, so your head is toward, but it's tall enough so you don't feel like you're in a coffin. And the short
Okay.
end, and
That's important.
the short end with the curtain is at your feet. So that's that. The
Okay.
room, as you go towards the kitchen, it was the room the room that's right on the right hand side before so that's where I was.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was the first time that I really spent that much time in a hostel. And also it was actually great. And I have some good friends that I made, the young
Oh,
people
nice.
who were there. So I really enjoyed it. And I probably, when I go back to Medellin, I'm planning to take some courses there again,
Oh, good.
because I'm going to be staying fairly close to them. So I'm going to take some courses and have a little bit more time than when I did in January. But
Nice.
yes, could you share, did you have any concerns? Because, as I said, there are some people who have said, I'm concerned about, Colombia and so on and so forth. And I can reassure them, because I've been there for a total of 4 months already. And
Yeah, then you know best
um,
for sure.
but at the same time, you know, maybe you can share a little bit of your experience when you went there. Did you have any concerns before you went?
You know, I probably went through the same thing you went through. Like the minute you tell people you're going to Medellin, they're like, oh, that's like the drug cartel. You're going to get beheaded. Like it's terribly dangerous. You can't go there. What are you, crazy?
Mhm.
And to be fair, it was the most dangerous city in the world,
Yeah, it
you know,
was.
what, 30 years ago. And
Mhm.
they have worked incredibly hard to get rid of that stigma and incredibly hard to clean up that city. And you're not even, if you even bring up the word, Pablo Escobar, they do not even want to speak about it. They are so sensitive to it because they have tried and successfully changed the image of their city to make it one of the most safe cities in the world.
Yeah.
I did not feel like it was sketchy. I did not feel nervous. I did not feel nervous. I don't remember ever feeling like, oh no, I better get back to my room. It's very chill. It's a very open kind of place to be. And I think what people don't remember is anywhere you go, anywhere you go. And I've traveled solo so many places. I've been to places like Marrakesh by myself. I've been to Istanbul by myself. I went all over Sri Lanka for a month by myself, to places that make people nervous. And guess what? I feel more nervous being back in Denver walking around by myself than I do walking around in these dangerous, crazy, busy, scary cities that people get freaked out about. And I think all the rules apply for whether it's Medellin, whether it's Denver, whether it's Morocco. You have to be paying attention to your surroundings. Don't be out at 2 in the morning and be drunk. That's just
Stupid.
Common sense. Right. Don't get in a car with people you don't know. Don't leave your drink uncovered. I mean, it's just basic things. If you feel like there's something wrong, follow your gut, call a taxi rather than walk, even if it's 6 blocks, just use your common sense and just be aware of your surroundings. But I don't know. I don't ever feel nervous or worried ever. And I've been doing this. I'm starting my 7th year of solo travel. And
I agree with you regarding
I don't know.
feeling
I'm
more uncomfortable.
Medellin would certainly not be even on my list.
No, I was saying,
Sorry?
I agree with you. I feel I feel safer outside of the United States than I do here.
Oh,
I'm
1,000,000%,
currently back in
for sure.
Dallas, I'm currently back in Dallas, and I leave for Medellin on the 2nd of March. And
Okay.
I can barely wait to get back, frankly. One of the things that I enjoy the most is when you consider the history of that city and what a lot of those people are old enough to even still remember.
Oh, yeah.
The spirit of those people is amazing. Everyone that I have encountered has been just amazingly warm and friendly and kind and helpful and so much fun. Because some people ask me, well, what are you referring to? And I said, where I was staying, they had, I was in a room that was right above the street, so I can hear, it wasn't that noisy, but I could hear, people going on. And it was right where the motorcycles waited to pick up Rappi order, to get their Rappi orders. So there was always a bunch of guys sitting there having, it was a little empanada shop there. And they would be sitting there and they're just talk. And of course, I don't know enough Spanish to know what they're saying. All I know is just like, I mean, you would think that there would be, and sometimes they're loud and they're crazy, and you think, oh gosh, is there a fight getting ready to break out or something? And then you go, hear more.
And then they're just laughing.
Yeah. It just seems as though they just live to laugh. I mean, it's just a wonderful, the people are just wonderful. So
I will say, for all the
that.
places I've been, the most, and I wouldn't even use the word friendly, I would say the most helpful, the most caring people I have come across are Colombians. They're not even just like trying to tell you where the train station is. They will walk you to it. They will, help you order your food if you need help. They were so kind, and like they would correct my Spanish because it was abysmal, but they would correct it in such a sweet way that they were just always like, no, you are very, very good. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, no, it's so good. And then they would say, but this word you say this way. And I remember looking for some beauty product one time, and the guy in the store was like, no, we don't have it. Hold on. He called a friend. She came out of her house and walked me to another place to look for it. Those people weren't there. She called somebody else. I mean, you don't get that kind of help and care and anywhere, and I just felt like Colombia and Medellin were so sweet, so helpful, so interactive, they were just so lovely. They really were.
Well, thank you.
So if anybody's worrying about that, I don't know. I mean, again, use your common sense and, don't be an idiot. But I just think that it's safer than probably most places that you would go to, and they pride themselves on that.
Yes, indeed. So we want to open the floor, the mic, so to speak, for questions from Shalom, as well as Jill. What, you can turn off your mics, or do I need to turn them off for you? And whoever wants to go first, you can unmute your mic and let's hear
Fire away.
any comments or questions that you have for her, for Cindy.
I'm curious what are like your deciding factors when you select where you're going to go.
Usually somewhere cheap. I was having apoplectic. I'm a FlashPacker, but I'm also cheap because, you know, my money needs to last. I was in Edinburgh and Denmark and Sweden, and I thought I was going to come unglued. I was like, oh my God, I need to get back to like my Portugal, Italy kind of places where I'm not, you know, busting out $100 bill every day. I was like, whew, this is a lot. So as much as I loved Scotland and I really enjoyed Denmark, I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I tried to find places that, and I'm one of those weird people who likes a place that's kind of down and dirty. Like, I love Istanbul, you know?
Me too.
I love Marrakesh. I love Kathmandu. I love those kind of like Malaysia kind of places that are just kind of crazy. When I was in Switzerland and Australia, I was like, and they're expensive places too. You know, maybe there's a correlation between clean and expensive, right? So I usually choose places that have a lot of history, so I can kind of poke around when I'm not working, and places that are just more of a cultural mishmash. I don't think I would be excited to go to England, for example. Like, okay, they eat the same food, they have the same clothes, they have a cooler accent than me, but beyond that, not much to float my boat. I would prefer to be somewhere like Macedonia or something. So that's just me, you know.
Skopje, you were in Skopje?
I was, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
so was I.
You were too, yeah.
July,
It's
yeah.
It's a quirky place.
It is, but it's fun. I definitely would go back again. And stay for an extended period of time.
Lots of
but
statues.
I have to come in defense of Istanbul, because down and dirty, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as down and dirty.
Well, it's not like clean like Barcelona or something. You know what I mean? It's like
it's my favorite European city,
I
actually.
love it. Yeah, it's like messy and gritty and delicious, and you know, there's all kinds of smells and all kinds of clothes and people, and yeah, I love that kind of like assault on my senses, you know. Yeah, I mean, I say it about Istanbul in a loving way. I love Istanbul.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Shalom, do you have Shlomo, I'm sorry, Shlomo, do you have some questions that you would like to share with us?
No, not really. Thank you for sharing. I don't have any specific questions.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you were covered. If you did have some, thank you, Shlomo. And Jill, did you have any other questions?
I think the only other question that comes to my mind is, how do you identify places to stay when you're going?
I'm a big fan of hostels, and a lot of times I'll look for a hostel or a hostel with a private room if it's a viable thing. I have found that in Europe, the private rooms are not budget friendly. You know, if I'm going to pay $80 or $90 a night for a hostel private room, I might as well go to an Airbnb and have my own kitchen and a washing machine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my favorite thing on booking.com is the sort feature. by price. So I just go lowest price, and then I just kind of, flip through them all and look for something that has good reviews.
Find the best, the
Because
lowest price is what I try to
yeah,
do.
exactly. Like I have no desire to stay somewhere super fancy. Well, I shouldn't say I have no desire. Let me clarify. I have the desire, I just don't have the means to stay somewhere fancy. But, my biggest criteria, is it clean? So when I check the list of the ratings, if the clean comes up in the 9s, I'm like, I'm in. Like, how bad can it be? If it's clean and it's close to public transportation, I can deal with that. Like I also have a very high pain tolerance, so I think you can't be too picky if you're going to also be cheap. So you have to decide if you want to spend a little bit more. Of course, you're going to get a little bit higher creature comforts and nicer thread counts on your sheets and things like that. So if that's important, you kind of learn as you go. I also think you need to not overlook things like house sitting and pet sitting and workaways, and just see what your options are to do cool things that bring you into a community, so you're not just always floating across the top as a tourist, and kind of get into a place so you can be more involved and kind of get a little bit more out of it and put a little bit more into it at the same time. And there's just so many different interesting things that you can do, like woofing, if you, and I know most people in this group are working, so I understand, but I also know, like, if you're working on US time, maybe you have the daytime to yourself. And, I have friends like Kimberly, like they go help at a dog shelter once a week.
I did that in Romania, as a matter of fact. And when I
I
was
talk online.
Mhm. I'm sorry, you go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's awesome. Another cool thing that I've done, if anybody is interested, I can give you the link for this too. I have a weekly date with this Ukrainian kid. He's 29 maybe. And we talk once a week for about an hour or an hour and a half. And he's working to improve his English, but he's damn good. I mean, he's probably at a really high level of English, but he's trying to improve it. And we just have these conversations once a week. And it's through this organization to help Ukrainian people improve their English. And I mean, it's easy, it's free, he's super flexible. Like if I say, hey, Val, I'm going to be in Italy for the next 3 weeks. I won't have a special time to meet with you every Friday. He's like, okay, whenever, and so we've been doing this for, over a year at this point. And it's really, really gratifying. And it's a way to kind of contribute without just sending a check to someone where you don't really ever see where it goes, to some organization. Like, I feel like I'm actually chatting with a real person. And, it's a Zoom call that we do once a week, and we have fun. He's always super friendly. And, we talk about movies and books and just try to talk about light things. Occasionally we'll talk about the war, but, not really. Yeah, it's been really cool just to have that relationship.
After the Zoom, could you, I've been making some notes as far as things to put in, resources to put in the liner. And if you
Sure.
can remember, I did put that down, the English practice program, because I think a lot
It's
of
very cool.
members would be interested in that as well too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to, some of our members, and more of our members for that matter, should be considering and being considerate about the environmental impact of the travel, that we do.
Yeah,
And
we definitely are making a carbon footprint.
yes, and so some of the ways that we can, in addition to recycling and all that type of stuff, but also having some focus on trying to give back to whatever community that we are embracing at that particular time. And I've always kind of wondered, thought about, well, how am I going to do that? And I'm very grateful to Helen and Tim Travel. I met Helen and Tim that's their IG, by the way, tag, but I met them when I was staying, talking about different types of places to live, I was staying at the most ideal co-live, co-work that I can imagine. And
Really?
yes, it's called, if you in Romania, it's
Oh, wow.
Sibiu. It's in Sibiu. And this couple, Bianca and Johnny, they purchased a small, was originally family-run boutique hotel, 12 rooms, all private rooms. And they have converted it into a co-live, co-work. The ground floor, which
Cool.
used to be the dining room, they've made a smaller dining room, so there's a smaller room for the people there. But the bigger dining room, they have little workstations for us set up. There's a room that is sort of like a half quarter round room that has a sliding door, and you can use that if you, like, for instance, I had a couple of Zoom meetings, and I just booked that space to be in
Smart.
for so that I can have, a private, but nice, good background and all that type of stuff. And Helen and Tim, they had sought out a place to do some volunteering, and it was at an adoption center or a shelter for dogs. And
Okay.
if I really appreciate them, because if it hadn't been for them, one, I never would have heard about it, because they were also staying there. I also ran into one of a couple of my friends that I met on the Nomad cruise that I had been on
Oh, cool.
that year as well too. They just simply showed up at
Oh,
this
fun.
work. They I think they all connected in Bansko at the big
Oh, yeah.
Nomad festival there. But but Helen and Tim told me that they were going to be going, they had rented a car while they were there, while they were in Romania. So they were driving from city to city, and they had found out about this this dog shelter. And so I had the opportunity to go with them, because I would have had to take a taxi or an Uber or whatever to get there without them. And it was really pleasant. We had 2 sets of dogs each, that we walked into the woods that were behind the dog shelter. Those dogs were so happy. It was some of the, they were so happy to be out and about. You can tell that they weren't used to being on a leash, but they were still so sweet and so friendly. And it made me feel so good to do something. And the people who have the dog shelter, they were so appreciative. So I'm sure that
Oh,
similar
nice. Yeah.
be available to us if we only seek it out as digital nomads. This is another way that we can, add more to
Yeah,
what
to contribute a little bit. Yeah.
we are in. Yes, yes. So we only have about 5 minutes left. I just did any other questions? I know I took all the questions from that had been sent in advance, and so we already
Nice.
covered those. But I just want to thank you once again for being, as I said, our primary digital nomad champion. Other than my daughter, my daughter. She's the other big champion of digital nomad. She's always giving me
Yeah,
some
she's rocking it for sure.
and things to do. That's right, 'cause you met her because she was behind the Zoom. We had an official Zoom master that I had paid. But when we
Oh,
had
right.
major problem, when we had that major problem,
Was that in
first
Lisbon?
day, in Lisbon? No,
Yeah.
at the summit. At the summit, remember that first
Oh,
day
okay.
when you and Barbara Smith had to,
Barbara Smith. Yeah.
right, had to get, but it was Maya who came up with the solution. Even the Zoom master who I had paid for 3 days for 3 days
Yeah.
for his technical skills.
There's
He had
technical
come up with the
skills for sure.
solutions that helped us get back online that first day. So it was yeah, she's been one of our biggest
It's always
champions.
a challenge for
But I
sure.
just really, and I also really appreciate, because you are just the ideal person for logistics, because you, as I said, you have done everything. You have been everywhere. You have had so many different types of accommodations that you have and that you have stayed in. And also, I think when you also shared around logistics, even though we have the financial piece and we have guest experts, I remember that you also shared a little bit about how you were able to use your properties in Denver as well as a, you know, as a not passive income necessarily, because you do have
Mostly, but
somebody,
yeah,
you know, managing it for you. And that was very helpful for some of the folks as well too, because some had property as well as that they are trying to figure out the logistics of what to do with. And so, you know, you're
yeah, I've had great luck
so
with
amazingly
travel nurses. So that's been really nice.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much again. I
Thanks for
really
including
just
me. And
absolutely really
yeah,
appreciate you, Cindy. And I have to say, if there's any way that you can find your way to Medellin instead of just zooming in, you know, you would be very, very welcome.
that would be fun.
Show up in
When is that? What
person.
are the dates?
Yeah.
What are
Pardon?
the dates?
The dates are Saturday, the 11th of May through to Sunday, the 19th of May.
Okay.
And so it's 8
I'll
nights,
let you know.
9
Yeah,
days, and it'll be great. And I've stayed at the place that I just love the place where we're staying. I've stayed there
that's great.
several months before, and it's also the same place where we hosted it in Medellin the first year that we had
The co-live.
the
Okay,
co-live
good for you.
co-work,
Yeah, that's
and that
awesome.
was in 2020. And so we're going back there, and that will be our regular home. We are going to be doing co-live co-works for experienced digital nomads that are longer, that are 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow, good for you.
Putting it this year, it'll probably be either July, maybe into August. But for something you know, like that, if you're interested in popping in, sure. We're still looking for locations. I'm going to put out a poll so that people can vote. I was looking at Brazil, but you know, during that period of time, Brazil is going to be winter. It's going to be their winter,
Okay.
June, July. So we might be looking further north, maybe to other parts of Central America, Nicaragua, possibly.
That would
So
be cool. Yeah, I'd like
but
to go
that,
there.
of course, is just your traditional co-live, co-work. You know, there's no workshop. There's
Okay.
nothing going on there. Just everybody doing their work and just enjoying getting together, getting to meet each other in person for the first time. Maybe you've been interacting, you know, within the network, meeting them in person, and everyone brings their work. That's, you know, as KJ used to say, or says, it's not work, remote play, it's remote work.
Darn it.
So, but yeah, that's what's coming up, and I'm so glad that you're going to be part of it, at least in Medellin.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for always thinking of me, for sure.
Thank you, thank you. All righty, well, we're going to say
Thanks, you
goodbye.
guys, Shlomo and Jill. Thanks. Nice to meet you guys.
Take care.
Thanks for hanging out.
And we will see you all again. Jill, I'll be seeing you in Medellin because you're
That's
already
great.
signed up. We're looking forward to that. All right. See you later.
All right, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Yes.